Lil Durk's prison escape attempt just hit the headline, and it's all caught on camera. The Chicago rapper, known for his OTF ties and hard-hitting lyrics, tried to make a move so crazy it's got everyone asking, what was he thinking? Was he that desperate? For freedom? Or was someone else forcing him to test his limits? Fans are dissecting every frame of the footage while critics are already calling it one of the wildest moves ever made. Whatever went down. One thing's for sure. This story is one for the history books. Keep watching to find out what really went down. Escaping the Fed's little brush with the FBI reads like a high-stakes game of chess. Except this time, the Feds had him in checkmate, the Chicago rapper known for turning street narratives into chart-topping hits, allegedly tried to outwit federal authorities by booking not one, not two, but 3 international flights in an attempt to dodge charges tied to a murder-for-hire plot. After the arrest of 5 associates from his only the family crew, Durk reportedly made moves to evade what he must have known was coming. According to sources, the rapper orchestrated an elaborate plan to confuse federal investigators. The idea booked multiple flights to throw the feds off his trail. It was a bold play, but the FBI wasn't about to let him slip through their fingers. Court documents revealed that Durk first reserved 2 one-way commercial flights, one to Dubai and the other to Switzerland. Neither of those flights were boarded, but they weren't just decoys either. This was a calculated attempt to keep federal agents guessing. Then came the third and most ambitious move, a private jet set to fly him out to Italy, but just an hour before the jet was scheduled to take off. From Miami's Opaka Executive Airport, FBI agents closed in and took him into custody. The coordination behind the rapper attempted escape wasn't small-time. Sources close to the case said Durk's team meticulously planned the strategy, believing that the mix of commercial and private flights could bypass federal scrutiny. But the FBI, equipped with advanced tracking methods and jurisdictional cooperation, wasn't falling for it with the flight attempts. Prosecutors argue that Durk is now a flight risk, adding even more weight to an already stacked case against it. Fans and critics alike are buzzing over the boldness of Durk's alleged escape attempt. For some, it's a testament to the pressure he must have felt, knowing the charges coming his way. For others, it's seen as an act of desperation, a move that could hurt his case more than help it. Either way, it paints a picture of a man willing to go to extraordinary lengths to avoid what's waiting for him in the courtroom. Lil Durk's empire has taken a massive hit, and it wasn't just bad luck or loose lips that led to his downfall. It was the feds playing a long game, watching his every move and listening to conversations he thought were private. The FBI had been on him for a while, piecing together the puzzle of what went down on that deadly night in August 2022. The story starts with a hit that was straight out of a movie at just 32. Durk built an empire with his music, but the charges against him are too extensive to ignore. Durk stands accused of conspiracy, using interstate facilities to commit murder for hire, and carrying firearms, including a machine gun, in connection with a violent crime. The Justice Department says he's not alone in this. 5 other OTF affiliates, including Kion CZ Grant and DeAndre Dantrell Wilson, have also been named in the indictment together. They're accused of carrying out a plan to hunt down Kwandu in Los Angeles. Here's how it all allegedly went down. Prosecutors claimed that in August 2122, Durk put a bounty on Kwandu, promising money and opportunities in the music industry to anyone who took him out. When OTF learned that Kwandu was staying at a hotel in La, the wheels were set in motion. Bank records showed that flights were booked for 5 co-conspirators to travel from Chicago to California, funded by OT's accounts. And when booking those flights, Durk reportedly warned his associate, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." Durk himself wasn't just sitting back. Prosecutors alleged he flew to LA on a private jet alongside Grant, a close ally. Once there, Grant reportedly bought ski masks and covered hotel costs for the crew using a credit card linked to Durk. This wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment beef. This was a carefully orchestrated operation. The following day, August 19th, the team allegedly tracked Kwandu and his family in 2 rented cars, following them across the city. Their target eventually stopped at a gas station on Beverly Boulevard. That's where things turned deadly. Prosecutors say the crew pulled up behind the station, jumped out and opened fire. 18 rounds were sprayed, and while Quando and his sister escaped unscathed, his cousin 24-year-old Sava Robinson wasn't so lucky. He lost his life in the ambush. The FBI has evidence that Durk was pulling the strings from behind-the-scenes, court records reveal. He ordered the hit financing the operation through OT's bankroll. The money trail was there. One-way flights booked for 5 co-conspirators from Chicago to California, all allegedly paid for with OTF funds, and Durk, he made sure to cover his tracks, reportedly telling his associate not to book any flights under names connected to him. But even with the precautions, the feds were one step ahead. They weren't just watching, they were listening. Wiretaps picked up conversations, including Durk's instructions to his crew. And when Durk himself flew to California on a private jet that same day, accompanied by OT's Kavan KZ Grant, the FBI wasn't far behind. Grant allegedly bought ski masks for the shooters and paid for their hotel rooms using a credit card. In Durk's name, the whole operation from start to finish was being tracked. The hit went...
We winning, bro. I can do it. Whatever it is I want to do, I can do it. Just not what I want to do what I want. Y'all can't do that.
They were building a case piece by piece, watching and listening as everything unfolded from the money trail to the wire. Taps, they had him locked in before he even knew what was happening. Lil Durk's world is spinning out of control, and the stakes have never been higher. The Chicago rap icon, celebrated for his come-up from the trenches to the top of the game, is now staring down the possibilities of spending the rest of his life behind bars. But this isn't just a single incident gone wrong. This case feels like the climax of a story that's been brewing for years. The federal government is accusing Durk of conspiracy using interstate facilities to organize the plot, and firearm violations that include carrying and discharging a machine gun. If convicted, the penalties are as severe as they come: life in federal prison for someone who's fought so hard to escape the streets. The irony is suffocating. The feds aren't pulling any punches. They've zeroed in on Durk and his OTF crew, alleging that their bonds go deeper than music. According to investigators, this isn't just a rap collective. It's an organization tied to street violence, with Durk allegedly calling the shots. The FBI claims they've pieced together a web of evidence, wiretaps, text messages, and surveillance that directly ties Durk to the plot. They say he wasn't just a bystander, but the mastermind coordinating every detail, from flights to hotel rooms, even down to the weapons used in the attack. They are sitting on a stockpile of evidence, including intercepted calls, where plans were made, discussions about money exchanged, and coded messages that prosecutors say all point back to Durk. They claim he told his associates not to book travel under any names that could be traced to him. A move they argue shows he knew exactly what he was doing. Add to that the use of OTF funds for flights and ski masks, and the feds believe they have a rock-solid case. But for Durk, tracks that once felt like gritty storytelling now sound eerily prophetic. The thought of life in prison looms large over Durk's head, and federal charges don't leave much room for hope. The severity of these allegations has even sparked wild speculation online, with TikTok users flooding timelines with rumors about Durk facing the electric chair. While that's not legally on the table, the mere fact that people believe it shows how high the stakes are. Durk's plea of not guilty sets the stage for a courtroom showdown, but the mountain ahead is steep. His legal team will need to pick apart the government's case, dismantling every piece of evidence to convince a jury that the man who's graced Billboard charts and award stages isn't the same person orchestrating violent retaliation. But this isn't the first time Durk has found himself staring down the possibility of jail time. The rapper has faced the system before and managed to make it out each time, seemingly stronger and more focused this time, though. The stakes feel different. OTF links Lil Durk's life has always been one deeply entangled with the streets, and his past brushes with the law show that he's no stranger to violence and the consequences that come with it. Long before he was a Grammy-winning rapper and a voice for the streets, Durk was a young man trying to survive the harsh realities of Chicago's South Side. His early run-ins with the law set the tone for the challenges he'd face as he rose to fame back in 2011. Durk still carving. His path in the rap game was arrested after police found a loaded .4 handgun in his car. As the story goes, when law enforcement approached, he tried to toss the weapon into the vehicle, but it wasn't enough to avoid getting caught. The charge: unlawful use of a weapon by a felon. For many, this would have been a wake-up call. But for Durk, it was just another chapter in his life, deeply tied to Chicago's violent backdrop. The arrest in 2011 wasn't his first dance with the system, though that same year he was pulled over in a separate incident, this time caught drinking in a car. Inside the vehicle, police discovered a gun with a defaced serial number, a charge that carries heavy weight. Durk was hit with aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. Pleading guilty, he spent time behind bars, only to be released in July 2012. But the legal troubles didn't end there for the rapper. In 2013, he found himself back in handcuffs when Chicago police raided his home in Orland Park and allegedly uncovered another loaded firearm as a convicted felon. The charge carried serious consequences, and he spent weeks.
For me to be a man, I'm saying. Nobody won't think why you make it out.
For Durk, growing up in the infamous Englewood neighborhood meant facing violence head-on, and often that meant being armed. His lyrics, raw and unfiltered, have always been a reflection of his reality, detailing the struggles of Navig, a world where loyalty, power, and protection come at a high cost. They show me to be a man. I'm saying, nobody want. Think why make it out of here. The arrests in 2011 and 2013 are just reminders that Durk's relationship with violence isn't new. These early charges, paired with the environment he grew up in, shaped not just the man, but the artist. They're the reason why his music hits so hard, because it's authentic, a reflection of a life that doesn't let go easily. Durk's ties to violence run even deeper when you consider the people around him, from his association with the Chicago drill scene, a genre born out of the city's most dangerous neighborhoods, to his crew, Only the Family, which has faced its own share of scrutiny. Durk's life has always been a balancing act between music in the streets. It's this duality that has made him a compelling figure in hip-hop, but also a target for law enforcement. His recent arrest has reignited conversations about his ties to the infamous Black Disciples game, a connection that has followed him from the streets of Chicago to the heights of the rap game. If you know Durk's backstory, the dots almost connect themselves. Born and raised in the Englewood neighborhood of South Chicago, Durk was exposed to violence from an early age. This isn't just any neighborhood, it's one of the most dangerous areas in the country. A place where joining a gang often feels like less of a choice and more of a necessity. By the time he was 17, Durk had already faced the weight of adult responsibilities. He became a father while still in high school, and that pressure pushed him to take his music dreams seriously. But with the streets all around him, he had to shift into survival mode. At Paul Ropes in high school, Durk found himself on the edge of two worlds, one that offered a chance to escape, and another that demanded loyalty to his environment. Dropping out of school, he chose the latter, fully stepping into the life of the Black Disciples, a gang that loomed large in his Englewood neighborhood. The Black Disciples aren't just any gang. They're a Chicago institution with a history steeped in power struggles, alliances, and street politics. For Durk, joining was about protection for himself and his family, and belonging to something bigger, a crew that gave him both an identity and a reputation. But with that loyalty came consequences. Almost immediately after aligning with the Black Disciples, Durk found himself on law enforcement's radar. His early arrest for gun charges in 2011 and 2013 were tied to a lifestyle where being armed wasn't optional. Durk wasn't alone in this life. His peers' names like Chief Keef, Lil Reese, and the late King Vow were all cut from the same cloth. They were street poets telling raw, unfiltered stories of the struggles they lived every day. Vaughn's death in 2020 was a stark reminder that even as these artists climbed the charts, their pasts were never far behind now, with murder for hire charges looming over him. Durk's connection to the Black Disciples feels more relevant than ever. Federal prosecutors are showing him out to be an artist who never fully left the streets behind, alleging that his ties to the gang extend far beyond his music. According to them, Durk's OTF crew isn't just a rap collective either. They're connected to being an extension of the Black Disciples, a group that uses music to fund and mass criminal activities, one of Chicago's most feared gangs. The Black Disciples have a reputation for being ruthless and deeply connected when it comes to Durk. Those ties might play a role, whether it's through pressuring witnesses, tampering with evidence, or pulling strings behind the scenes. But let's be real. The system knows how these G operate, and law enforcement isn't about to let it slide. The feds stay ready for moves.
What's OTF?
OTF is only the family.
Okay. What does it consist of?
It was just a lot of us just hang out.
Durk tried passing off his crew as just some other rap collective focused on family values, but they're much more than that. Only the family slowly grew into a street organization with roots that run deep in violent turf wars contract, killings, and a reputation for retaliation. Their track record, spanning from Chicago to Jamaica, shows how they don't just operate in the shadows, they command respect and fear on the streets. The Black Disciples, Durk's original crew, shaped his early life, but OTF has amplified that influence on a global scale. Evidence of OTF's reach and ruthlessness can be seen in incidents like the Sanford shoot, where members reportedly targeted rapper Jackboy after a feud connected to Kodak Black. This attack, which left an innocent woman dead, was a calculated move to solidify power and reputation. The aftermath included over a dozen arrests, but not before OTF demonstrated its readiness to escalate conflicts to lethal levels in Jamaica. OTF has shown its adaptability, aligning with local gangs like the Vietnam Sparta Gang, and the Big Yard Gang. Authorities there have tied OTF to lottery scamming, contract K killings, and the illegal arms T trade. The Joint A Anti-Gang Task F-Force in Jamaica has consistently found caches of weapons and ammunition linked to OTFO operations, showing how deeply embedded they are in organized C-crime. One of the most publicized examples of OOTF's influence came with the 2020 murder of Chicago rapper FBG. D-Duck was shot outside a Dolce & Gabbana store in broad daylight. The attack left 2 others injured and sparked widespread outrage. Duck's mother, Lena W. Weekly, has since filed a wrongful death lawsuit against D. Durk, his L label, and even high-profile B brands connected to his image, accusing them of fueling a culture of violence for profit. Court filings suggest that King Vvow, another OTF affiliate, had a personal vendetta against FBG D-Duck. Prosecutors claim OTF members orchestrated D-Duck's murder as part of a larger branding effort to reinforce their reality R-rap persona, where violent acts directly feed into the authenticity of their music. Durk's arrest puts him at the center of a storm. But OTF's history suggests they're no strangers to handling heat. The group has a proven ability to retaliate against threats and sway outcomes through street-level influence. Whether it's intimidating witnesses, leveraging local loyalties, or navigating the complexities of legal battles, OTF's network could play a critical role in determining whether Durk walks free or faces serious time. OTF operates less like a music label and more like a gang, using its violent reputation as part of its brand identity. This duality is why the FBI is currently trying to pin a RICO case on the group. The question now is whether OT's influence can shield Durk from the full weight of the federal charges he's facing, but no amount of money or gang backing is going to stop the blow jail times about to drop on his career and maybe even his whole life. Facing the music, Lil Durk's arrest has already sent ripples through his career, and now it looks like his highly anticipated album Deep Thoughts might be the latest casualty of his legal troubles. The project, originally set to drop on October 18th, has reportedly been pushed back indefinitely for an artist of Durk's stature. This kind of delay is a major setback, both creatively and financially. Durk was gearing up for a huge release with Deep Thoughts, featuring tracks like Monitoring It turn up a notch in Late Checkout with Hunk Show snippet teased heavy-hitting bars and introspective vibes showing Durk once again, blending street tales with personal growth. But now the promotional train is off the tracks. The visuals he dropped recently, including one shot in front of London's iconic Big Ben, were hyping fans up only to leave them wondering when or if they'll hear the finished product anytime soon. This delay is now being seen as part of the fallout from his current legal battles. Albums are major business for artists. A delay means less momentum, fewer streams, and lost revenue. And for someone like Durk, who was on a winning streak after Almost Most Healed and its Grammy-winning single, All My Life, featuring J. Cole, this stall could cost him millions in album sales, merch, and tour opportunities. The timing couldn't be worse. Durk has spent the past few years climbing to the top of the game, going from a Chicago street rapper to a global star. Albums like The Voice and Almost Healed showcased his ability to balance raw, street-hardened lyrics with introspection and mainstream appeal, while fans have been ride or die for Durk through past controversies. The constant delays and distractions couldn't even the most loyal. And let's not forget the ripple effect on everyone involved in the project. Producers, collaborators, and even label execs who've invested time and money into deep thoughts are all feeling the heat. Albums aren't made in a vacuum, and when the lead artist gets caught up in the legal drama, everyone from the A&D mom to the marketing department feels the strain. What's really wild is how this ties back to the street life Durk has always rapped about. His rise to fame was built on authenticity. But now that same connection to the streets is threatening to derail everything he's worked for. The very themes that made him relatable to millions, loyalty, survival, and revenge, are now playing out in real time with devastating consequences. Running from the feds while under active investigation, that's a move that'll have prosecutors sharpening their knives. For Lil Durk, booking multiple flights, 2 one-way tickets to international destinations, and a private jet to Italy might have felt like a way to outsmart authorities, but it's only added more heat to his case. Federal prosecutors don't just see this as a logistical move. They see it as a loud and clear signal of guilt in the courtroom. To this kind of maneuver is the stuff that makes juries and judges suspicious, and the prosecution will almost certainly argue that it was a calculated attempt to escape justice. One of the most damning accusations Durk faces is tied to murder for hire charges, a federal crime that's about as serious as it gets under 18 U.S.C. Section 1958. This charge hits anyone who organizes or pays for a murder that crosses state or national lines. And when the feds bring these charges, they don't play around. Sentences for murder for hire cases often include life in prison, without parole. And while Illinois doesn't use the death penalty, the weight of this charge alone is enough to crush most defendants. The feds have a near unbeatable record in cases like this. About 98% of federal prosecutions end in guilty verdicts, many through plea deals if convicted. Durk could be looking at decades behind bars, or even life, and those flights they're not helping prosecutors will likely frame them as evidence of a deliberate and premeditated effort to flee. That's the kind of thing that can unravel a defense team's argument about innocence or lack of intent on top